Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I am delighted this evening, because it's evening with me, to be joined by my guest, Linda Marsanico. Linda, thank you so much for joining me today.
I am delighted to be with you, Sarah. I've had another podcast with you. It's easy to be interviewed by you. It's easy to be in conversation with you. So it's a joy.
Bless you. Thank you. Now, Linda is the author of the new book, The A Train to Sedona, Moving Through Your Shadow Towards the Light. And I have a copy of it here. That's the real thing, deal. That's the real deal. I started reading it, and I'm planning on reading more this weekend. So, Linda, let's start with, just because obviously there are aspects, moving through your shadow towards the light. And I read something literally within the last couple of days that said something about your shadow side is not the dark side of you. It is the disconnected sides of you. And for me, the way I think about that is those things that have happened to you in your life that have hurt you, have upset you, you don't know how to deal with, especially in your early years. You know, even as adults, we don't necessarily have to deal with some things, but as children, we really don't. And so they're the disconnected aspects of ourselves, the hurt parts of ourselves, that it's time for us to bring back and to be the full person that we are, the being we are meant to be. There was nothing ever wrong with us. It was other people's perceptions and sort of life. Does that make sense to you, the feeling I'm getting?
It does make sense to me. We need to know who we are. And as you say, being disconnected, during the path, we have many techniques and many opportunities to get to know who we are. So we have interactions with people. And we're interacting and we're partnering all the time. And we have reactions to those interactions. And we have an opportunity to look in the mirror, the metaphorical mirror, and say, what can I learn about myself? What does this say about me? And then take steps to learn more, to include. In these interactions, we have the opportunity to bring up unconscious material. Talk about being disconnected. The unconscious needs our attention so that we can become more integrated. And it reminds me of a story that I have in the book of a failure to be compassionate. I was at a dinner party, and a guest at the dinner party presented an idea. And in order to be cogent in the idea that was presented, the guest disallowed the nuance of what I was trying to express. So the party was over. I drove home. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And the garage that I had at the time is one where I needed to pull my car alongside of the parked cars and then back into the garage. So this man in a car was blocking me. I flicked my lights and he pulled up. And I didn't think that he pulled up enough. And I flicked my lights and continued. And the anger started pouring out of me. I couldn't believe how angry I was. When I caught myself, I realized that he had pulled up enough. So I was able to back in appropriately. I hadn't realized how angry I was, how blocked I felt by this dinner guest. And that was a spiritual opportunity for me. I failed in compassion, but I brought the unconscious material up to consciousness. That disconnected part of myself could be dealt with. I could grieve other moments in my life when I felt blocked, and a real opportunity to know who I am, to move toward the light. So
I remember.
Go.
I remember reading that bit in the book.
So, compassion is an everyday experience. We get to make decisions, as we were talking about before the broadcast. Somebody greets us, we can give them a smile or a frown. We can be polite or we can be rude. In traffic, I could be in the fast lane behind somebody doing 40 miles an hour. Now, I can maybe flick my lights to see if they'll move, but maybe they won't. I can go to another lane. I can decide if I stay in that lane that it's going to take me a longer time to get where I am. But if I'm feeling angry, I could curse, honk my horn. So it's an opportunity for me to practice compassion or to get to know myself more. Because I think often our personalities come out in the car.
Oh, yes.
As I learned that night with that man blocking my driveway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that for me, when you were sort of talking about that, the dinner guest who basically just wasn't listening to you, and it puts us in, if you've ever felt really unheard, as if people are not listening to you, you're basically a nothing, sort of, and how many of, and especially as a child, sort of, and that absolutely happened with me because of the incident that occurred to me as a baby. I desperately wanted my mother, but I was in hospital and I got to see her once a week for an hour. That was circumstances and the rules of the hospital. That was not because they didn't want to be with me, but of course, that little baby desperately wanting their mother and cried and cried and cried. Mum wasn't there. As an adult, we can understand circumstances, but how do we help the inner self, the hurt self, the traumatized self? And there was something I've sort of read recently about, so the trauma for a child isn't the hurt and the pain, it's that there's nobody there to actually listen.
Being listened to is like being loved.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Recently, there's a lot of talk about trauma residing in the body. About 25 years ago, 20 years ago, Bessel van der Kolk wrote The Body Keeps Score. And I sometimes work with my clients, and I've worked on myself with this, where it's sort of a Buddhist meditation. It's not sort of, it is a Buddhist meditation where we go for a discomfort, an itch, something to draw us to that part of the body. And we speak to that part, asking, what are you trying to tell us? What are you trying to tell me? What do I need to know? And it's helpful to have a conversation, to lead us to have a vocabulary about it, and a trust that we can heal. That's the thing. We want to know that there is the ability to heal, and there is. And of course, one of my tips on the road is to take responsibility for ourselves. One is intention to be on the path, and another is to take responsibility, because really we're the only ones who can heal. As a Reiki master, I can work with the Reiki energy, but the person who is going to be healed has to wish to be healed. Otherwise, there's no healing going to happen. Yeah. So we are, as I say to many clients, you are the CEO of your company, you are the president of your being. So yeah. And when I think that, I want to sit up straight, and I feel very grounded and centered. We're powerful. Yeah. And we need to remember.
Yeah, we absolutely are. Yeah, with the Reiki, which obviously I do as well, or I bring as well. It is about offering the energy, and you offer it, and if it is a tool that is right for them and empowers their own self-healing.
Yes,
we can't heal anybody but ourselves. And that was actually why I learned Reiki. Somebody said to me, "Oh, the first person you treat is yourself." I thought, that's for me.
And for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where it started. But the important thing to do is listen to ourselves, is love ourselves, if have the compassion and the caring for ourselves. I think, sort of moving through your shadow towards the light is really about connecting with yourself, every little bit of yourself, understanding what's gone in your life. This is the sense I'm getting, understanding the things that have happened so that you've got a better understanding of your reactions and actions to things. And I think when you can come from an adult perspective of understanding what happened to the child, you don't have to like it. You don't have to condone what happened to the child. But if you can realize there were circumstances around things and be more compassionate of the child within, because at the end of the day, for me, that child is still right inside me. Every single age, every single second, minute, hour, day, that aspect is still inside of me. It makes up the whole. Every single aspect makes up the whole of me.
Yes. One of the tips, another tip, is to heal the inner child. And so I could become aware of an aspect of myself at any time that needs to be dealt with. I remember a client wanting to color in her coloring book in the park. That was what her child self wanted. And then there's also asking the questions, which are questions within us. The journey is within. So I ask, what can I learn about myself in this interaction? What can I grieve over? How do I want to handle it? I'm asking myself to get to the core of love, where Creator is. It is said that Creator is in every electron of our cells. So if I'm looking at my cells, if I'm looking within, if I'm getting clarity, as I'm moving toward the light, I'm being self-loving, and I am the most important thing, or I would have to say one of the most important things is to love ourselves. Whether it's the most important thing or one of the most important things, because when I love myself, I can share kindness, I can share goodness, I can share so much of what is needed, but I can't give it out if I don't have it. And as I was mentioning before we got on the broadcast, there's a lot of work to do to feel self-loving. I mean, someone said to me, I said, assertiveness and compassion they go together. Just really? I said, well, look at assertion. I define it as getting my needs met while respecting the rights of others. I speak my truth. I let people know who I am. And I'm real in the world. And that builds self-love. Now, I can request something through assertion. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get it. But I've spoken it. I've spoken my truth, and it fills me in. And sometimes I think we can fulfill our own requests. So if I wanted to go out to dinner and there's nobody to go out to dinner with, I could take myself out to dinner. The idea is that we have everything we need inside of us. Of course, having said that, we are social beings, right? We are social beings and we need others. But assertion and compassion are good cousins, I would say, in the path to looking inward.
But so people can hear that word assertion. And for some people, that could be very strong, very powerful, and I am going to get my own way. But it's like the word love, that it can be misconstrued, it can be misunderstood, it can have the wrong energies put to it. And the love we're talking about isn't an all-consuming passion that you have with one person. It's that caring, that compassion that you have for everything, everyone. And if you're struggling to think about it with humans, maybe you need think about it with an animal. Have you got a pet, a dog, a cat, or something? Do you just love being out in nature? When you see a dead animal at the side of the road, does it actually hurt you? That's love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what so many people think about when you think of that word love. There are many words that people will, their understanding of it is something different. I'm going to be honest with this one. I hate the word service. Personally, I do, because I've been a waitress, I've served behind a bar, I've been a chambermaid, all those things. You're doing things for people
Mm-hmm.
that they don't have to do for themselves. And that's my understanding of the word service. Now, my youngest sister, she adores the word. She uses it a lot, not so much around me. But for me, I'm not here to do anything for anybody. I'm here to support people, to help people to do things for themselves.
Yes.
And having worked with adults with learning difficulties and children, you know, it's about supporting them to do things, not to do things for them. And there's a real difference in, and I know some people consider that word service to be that we're here to be of service to people, and it's just like because of my understanding of the word. And so I think we have to realize this, don't we? With words, people have got different understandings of what they mean.
That's why communication is so important. Taking responsibility for ourselves and being powerful also fits into assertion. Remember, my definition is getting my needs met while respecting the rights of others. Aggression would be getting my needs met while disrespecting the rights of others. And with assertion, Sarah, anger gets diffused. It doesn't get stored up where we are just waiting for it to erupt. It gets out in little fits and starts. I like it when you do that. So I think that assertion is like swimming. It's an important skill. And I think that sometimes we women find it hard to be assertive. And in the book, I mentioned about a trip to Sedona that I was taking with my spiritual group on Father's Day. And all of the other women had fathers who had passed, and mine, of course, was alive. I was so torn. I wanted to be in Sedona, and I wanted to be with my father, but I couldn't be in both places. So I was on my sister's back balcony. We're grilling food for whatever day it was. I don't know whether it was maybe Mother's Day. And I blurted out, "Dad, I'm going to Sedona with my spiritual group, and I can't be with you on Father's Day." It almost wouldn't come out of my mouth. And he said, "Oh, there's always somebody missing." And that was it. But that was, so the point that I want to make, when we are assertive, not everybody's going to be happy. It causes flack. But remember, it's a communication, a respectful communication. But often people want us to be the way we have been. And our assertive self may be something new for them to handle. So it can be problematic.
100% it can. But when we are true to ourselves, when we learn to say no to others and yes to ourselves, rather than no to ourselves and yes to others, there are going to be those people who initially but you can't say no to me, and I think about this word selfish, and I know I've said this a number of times before. Who is the one being selfish? I've asked you, oh, would you do so and so, so and so for me? And you come back and you say no. You don't have to give a reason. You really don't. It just doesn't resonate with you. You can't do it for whatever reason. You've said no. And I turn around and say, that really is selfish of you. Who's the selfish one? It's the person who's expecting you to do something that you don't feel right doing.
Right.
It's not the person saying no.
Mm-hmm.
That transference of how that feeling. So you're calling somebody else selfish because actually you're the one being selfish. It's that learning to say no and honoring who you are, your feelings, what feels right to you. And I have done this within my family. It didn't go down very well initially, but what it did do was then give everybody else in the family permission to say no.
You were inspirational then.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't appreciated at the time.
Well, you know what I said? I said this to my children. When I request something, it's not a command performance. I'm just requesting it. You tell me what you think about it, tell me whether you can, and we can have a discussion. It's important, and it's part of the exchange of loving communication. But how wonderful to inspire people. I can actually say no.
Yeah. And we can. And I think, obviously, having sort of read what I have of the book, it's been about you learning things about yourself and learning the things you choose to grow from. I personally don't like the word change. I think that means there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with us. It's just it's time to grow from where we were to the more powerful being that we really are. So is there anything else sort of, because it's only a half-hour program, but I'm loving this, and I know we have got someone watching, so if you've got a question, please, or you've got a comment, please do write in the chat. That's what the chat's there for. But have you got another story within the book that you feel is something that you'd like to share here?
I would, Sarah. When I lived in the condo attached to that garage, associated with that garage, there were 3 families, each on a floor. And on the 3rd floor, they became pregnant and had a baby. And they put their baby carriage right outside my door. So when I opened my apartment door, the carriage was right there. I asked them to move the carriage, to move it to a vestibule to the left, to bring it up a couple of steps and put it on a landing. They refused. I tried to talk to each of them. Nothing worked. They were unhappy. I was very unhappy. And the energy, you share space with families, the energy was negative. And I think an angel whispered in my ear. I decided to say, I am a bodhisattva. I am a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is someone, as maybe someone doesn't know, someone on the road to enlightenment. When I would come home from work and see the carriage in front of my door, I'm a bodhisattva. I repeated it again and again. I am a bodhisattva. I am a bodhisattva. And they moved the carriage. And I think my interpretation of that is that they felt the loving energy. Love is a catalyst, love opened doors, and I was so happy. I was so happy that that was the result, because I was aggressive and not very pleasant at the beginning, but I shifted. As I said, I think it must have been an angel in my ear. Be loving. And then the unexpected happened. And that's She's very close to my heart. We became friendly, and until Mary moved, we were very, very friendly. All was forgotten.
And I suppose in my own way, when I'm out driving, but not just driving. Sort of sometimes when I'm out for a walk, whatever, something happens, but it's usually driving. Sort of, and it's people sort of cut you up or pull out in front of you. It's all silly things that are totally unnecessary. And sort of yes, it's that, and it's just like release to the light with love, love, peace, and light, love, peace, and light, love, peace, and light. And I don't close my eyes. I'm meant to be watching the road, but. I would, but I'm usually moving, so sort of, and it's just like, no, release that to the light, sort of, and for me, it's really as important to release it to the light with love. This is something sort of where I've sort of heard, was taught, whatever, is any negative energies, if you're wishing to let them go, wrap them in love, release them to the light with love, but add that loving energy to it to negate the negative energy. That is so important. So that's what you did. What you were doing was negating the negative energy that you were truly feeling. But it's just like, no, I can let this go. For want of a better word, I can rise above this.
Yes, love allows that. Love takes us.
Yes, and it doesn't mean we're. Yeah, I was thinking when you hear that term, rise above something, it's sort of other people may think about that. Oh, so you think you're better than us? No, it's just a matter of I let go of the negative energies. And we can all raise our level of energy, our vibration. We can all do it. It doesn't make me better than anybody else. It just feels more comfortable. It's a better space for me to be in.
We all have an opportunity to increase our vibration. And that's why we're here, to heal ourselves and to increase our vibration. And a life well lived in that way inspires others. By example, people can say no in your family now. And I hope that I inspire people, my friends, my family, as they inspire me as well. And love will do that.
It absolutely will. And so, the A train to Sedona. And I'm looking forward to finishing it. But I'm not that far, but I will be reading more this weekend because I'm going to have time to do that. As I was saying before, I'm having a technology-free weekend. So but Linda, thank you so much. Your website, actually, can you tell? I should have brought it up. So I will put it in here, and I will make sure it is under the video on YouTube as well, because I'm assuming that people can go to your website for the book.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. So your website is?
It's lindamarcanico.com.
Okay.
And then there's a page, the A Train to Sedona has its own page, and they can click on that.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't see what I'm doing, which doesn't help, and I'm no typist. So LINDA, hopefully I put that in right.
So is
MARSAN.
N for Nancy. SAN for Nancy, ICO.
CO, it's all right. I can't see my keyboard, and I'm not. What's it? Marcanico.com. Okay. Right. Okay. I've put that in, and I will make. And I'm sure I've got that, so I'll make sure that's up on the up under the video on YouTube as well. Linda, thank you so much. I can't believe that the time's gone so quickly.
Yes. It's lovely to be here with you, Sarah. Thank you for the opportunity to share information about my book.
No, it's a real pleasure. And I'm sure we'll connect again. But folks, do check out Linda's website. Do check out the book. Anybody on a journey to yourself, there's information in there that can support you. And that's what everything I suppose that I do here on Gift of Healing TV. It's about helping people to help themselves, to support themselves, to be there. And I love having other people who are doing exactly the same. That's what it's all about for me. So Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And next week we have a today's conversation for you. The Art of Laughter, Art and Chocolate for Overall Health and Wellness, with Sarah Routman. So who's a laughter yoga practitioner. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. And laughter is one of the best medicines you can come across, folks. So I hope you'll join us for that. Linda, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Speak soon.
Thank you, Sarah.
Namaste, sweet souls. Bye.
Namaste.